Buongiorno a tutti, grazie di essere qui con noi per la conferenza stampa del film con Costner, che è l'interprete protagonista. Il film, come sapete, è in concorso al festival in collaborazione, presentato in collaborazione con la sezione edizione. Siamo un po' in ritardo, siamo con un'agenda strettissima, quindi partirei subito con le vostre domande.
Manuela Lezzombo per TV numero 1 Pontetti. Innanzitutto complimenti per il film, mi ha colpito molto la scena del dibattito nell'aula del tribunale. Volevo sapere le emozioni che ha provato e qual è stato il meccanismo, il processo recitativo per arrivare a questa performance così straordinaria. In secondo luogo, lei l'ho ascoltata il 4 luglio a Orvieto per la festa della celebrazione, insomma, dell'indipendenza americana. Come è stata questa sua, cioè che cosa le ha portato questo evento e se lo ripeterà? Grazie. Ottimo cantante comunque.
Your questions are as long as my movie, which I like. Thank you. The concert was performed, I'm going to say it wrong, and so I apologize. Oviedo?
Oviedo.
I was close. One of the most beautiful places I had ever seen in my life, and I got to play music in front of a church that was 1,200 years old. Oh, is this all being... Oh, perfect. And it was nighttime, and it was magical, and it was so magical that at one point I just looked at the orchestra playing, and can you imagine playing rock and roll with the whole orchestra behind you? Well, that was the experience that I had that night. And sometimes I have to ask myself, why have I had so many unbelievable experiences in my life? I feel really lucky about things that have happened to me, and that night was one that I'll never forget. And I got so wrapped up, I actually forgot one of the lines in the song. I was just like looking around, and next thing you know, I was lost for a second. And, it was just one of the most unbelievable places and experiences I had ever been. But in talking about the movie, the courtroom scene, I loved what was said, because we all have difficulty with this subject, racism. And we seem to confuse racism with disagreements. If I disagree with you, then I'm suddenly a racist. It's the wrong thing, and it happens all the time. Sometimes if you disagree with someone, you disagree with them, or sometimes the reason you don't like them is because you don't like how they behave. It has nothing to do with the fact that they're black or white or Chinese. You just don't like them. And we continue to confuse things with race. And this speech in the final courtroom sequence actually was the reason why I decided that I would pay for this movie. I thought that the studios should make this movie. It turned out they didn't feel that way. It didn't seem big enough. I thought this is a movie with a big idea, and it's about a problematic thing in all our lives. And I was so surprised that it wouldn't be made, and I looked at my wife and I said, oh, God, I think we have to make this. And I remember her thinking, really, Kevin? I go, yeah. I said, well, and she goes, what does that mean exactly? And I said, well, it means we're going to pay for it. And she went, oh, God, really? And then she looked at me and she said, if you believe in it that much, then I guess we should do it. And so what I believed in was a movie that worked its way all the way to that speech in the end. And I didn't know that my character was going to break down. I didn't plan that. I just did the speech and I threw myself into it. And of course, when I came to that part about talking about a person who didn't take the time to apologize to my wife about the death of my child, and my voice started to break, I think everybody in the room would understand that. Everybody in America could understand that. Everybody living everywhere else in the world would understand the loss of a child and somebody not apologizing who felt had real responsibility to. So sometimes that's the magic of movies, that the emotion sneaks up on you, and something that seems artificial on the paper suddenly becomes terribly important and absolutely authentic. And that's what movies can be about. You know, movies sometimes can be about things you never ever forget. And I thought that final courtroom speech that I was lucky enough to give myself, I always thought it had the chance to be great.
Domande? Ce n'è una lì sulla destra.
Hi, Tricia Thomas, Associated Press. This film has a happy ending, but as...
Where are you at?
I'm over here.
Okay.
This film has a happy ending, but as we all know, for the United States, often they don't have happy endings. Just looking at recent events in Ohio. What do you think this film is trying to say to Americans about how to reach a happy ending, how to get over the whole black and white? Because the United States has a lot of trouble getting over its deep, deep racism.
Yeah, we have to get over it. I mean, we are all in this together. And I don't know how happy the ending was as much as maybe it was satisfying. It was satisfying that this girl had two homes that could love her equally. You know, it's interesting that you asked that question. You're talking about Compton, California, and you're talking about Beverly Hills. I was born in Compton myself in real life, and that's why I put that city in the movie. And I think that it was really important for us to show that little girl had an absolutely full, expanded, mature life with the family in Compton, and equally to having a life in Beverly Hills. In fact, you know, that's why we showed certain things, like her playing the piano in my house with just her tutor, which seemed pretty pedestrian, and yet there, down in Compton, she's playing music filled with her cousins and everything, and it was, and I think Mike Binder wrote a great American screenplay, and I hate to say great American screenplay because it's kind of like leaving out great, you know, Italian screenplays or great French, but it's a very American story, and the hope was that it would be universal in its impact, and you know, race is something that we have to deal with, and I thought that speech. I made a movie called Field of Dreams, and in it there's a speech that James Earl Jones gives about baseball, the mythical love affair that America has with baseball. And what's interesting about that speech is Mickey Mantle, Willie Mays couldn't have written that speech about a game they love. Talking Heads couldn't have written a speech about baseball. And it took this one kind of J.D. Salinger mythical character that writes this most amazing story about what it is about baseball. And I thought the same thing happened, even though these movies are really opposites of each other. I thought something almost equal happened in Black and White, that out of the mouth of a drunk, a grandfather, someone who was scared, came the perfect logic of what it's like to deal with it when race is brought up in a place where it's not appropriate. The reason we fight over race, sometimes it's not appropriate. You know, and in this instance, I thought Mike did something. You have to give it to him. There's a level of genius in Mike saying, when I see a beautiful woman, the first thing I think about are her breasts. Because I do. And I don't know if that makes me a pervert. I don't know what it makes me. It just makes me kind of flawed. And he says it's the same thing with race. It's not my first thought that counts. It's my second, my third, and fourth that will define me if I'm a racist or not. And I have to say that when I read that, I knew that I had read something that was, for me, literary genius. Not easy to do, seemed like simple sentences connected together, but it was very, very powerful, and that's why I call it a great American screenplay.
Qui, sulla sinistra.
Hi and welcome. Nice to see you. I think that one of the most interesting scenes in the movie is, you know, the pool scene and the sequence right before the pool scene, because in
Wait, stop for a second.
Okay.
Stop for a second. You're translating, are you speaking in English?
Yes.
Okay, I got confused because my translator was speaking in Spanish.
Okay, do you want me to? Okay, can I speak English?
I apologize. I was like achieving Christmas.
Okay, I was telling you that one of the most interesting scenes of the movie is, you know, the pool scene and the sequence right before. Because until that moment, we don't realize that both men have a problem. And in that scene, we see that you are drinking and Andrea Holland is using, I don't know, he's smoking crack or something like that. So I would like you to give a little comment about this, of these two characters that have, you know, the same problem in that very moment and they both meet.
Right. Well, I think that was one thing that attracted me about the movie was how even-handed it was. We have one person that has, you know, that we identify as a drug problem, and another person has an anger issue, has an alcohol problem, and both of them are injured people. And I think American movies would do well to not have cookie-cutter type characters. You know, some people might think, oh well, the father who's somehow abandoned his child, that's a cliche. It's not a cliche. It happens all the time. This story is based on true events, and that's probably the most truest thing, you know, in a true story. It happens. But I think what Mike did was he balanced this. He took this young man who couldn't take responsibility and had dived into drugs, and at the same time, when I offer him a check, I tell him to get his act together, and I go 20 feet over there and I start hitting the bottle. It runs a really fine line of being humorous and very authentic. And yes, these two broken men, they meet, and that proves for great drama. So, look, I knew I was going to make this movie when I knew no one else was going to. That's, you know, that was my problem. You know, believe me, it's not the easiest thing to just go make a movie.
Ultima domanda, qui.
Una domanda che riguarda un po' tutta la tua carriera. Qual è il tuo personaggio che ti senti più vicino di tutti quelli che hai interpretato?
Well, I'm really glad, number one, that I don't have to look back and decide what the most important movie was to me or what the best character was to me. I played some incredible characters, great American characters. I mean, no one ever confuses me for anything other than American. I get it. You know, I play cowboy movies, I do baseball movies, I do, you know, political kind of movies, and I do this movie. From Fandango playing Gardner Barnes to playing Wyatt Earp to, you know, being, you know, open range to playing Billy Chapel to playing Crash Davis to playing Tin Cup to playing this particular character, this grandfather. I mean, I look in the mirror, I don't feel like a grandfather, but I'm headed there. We're all headed there, and as I play out the second half of my career, I'm going to continue to do things and look for the next great part for myself. And I'm going to look back and feel really good about the parts that I did play. So I cannot boil it down to what the greatest part is. I look for great parts. I look for them. And I didn't have, and the problem was when I saw this little movie that no one else wanted to make, I knew that it was a great part. I knew that it was a great movie. And I knew that it helped with the discussion that we seem to have so much difficulty with, which is race. And that's why I made Black or White. That's why I'm glad that you came to see it, and that's why I'm glad you'll write about it. Some of you will like it, and maybe some of you don't, but at least you came to watch it. And what you saw was the best that I had to offer. That was as good as I could do.